I can see what Scripture says. I'm just not ready for what it might change. Sometimes the hardest part of studying Scripture is not understanding the words. It's realizing those words may require something from us. You may have started examining Scripture because something you were taught no longer seemed to add up. So you looked more carefully. You reread the passage. You compared it with other passages. You prayed for understanding. And little by little, the direction began becoming clearer. But then the question changed. It was no longer only, what does Scripture say? It became, what will happen if I accept what it says? Because truth doesn't remain confined to our thoughts. It may affect a belief you've held for years, a tradition you inherited, a habit you've never questioned, a relationship, a congregation, the way other people see you. And suddenly, Bible study becomes personal. You want to know the truth, but you're uncomfortable with where the truth may be leading. That's often when delay begins to sound like discernment. I need to study more. I need another opinion. I'm still praying about it. I don't have peace yet. Sometimes those statements are completely honest. There are questions that require careful examination. We shouldn't make major decisions from one isolated verse, someone else's pressure, or a passing impression. But there's also a point when more study stops being a search for truth and becomes protection from what the truth may require. We say we're waiting for clarity, but perhaps we're actually waiting for the answer to become less disruptive. We want every question resolved, every consequence understood, every fear gone, and everyone around us to agree. Only then will we feel ready. But Scripture doesn't teach us that trust begins after discomfort disappears. In Matthew 26:39, Yahshua prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." What Yahshua faced in Gethsemane was unique. Our ordinary acts of obedience should not be compared with the cup he bore. But his response reveals something important about trust. He didn't pretend the cost felt easy. He didn't deny the weight of what was before him. The struggle was real, and surrender was still present. Discomfort didn't become the final authority. Fear didn't determine the direction. He placed his will beneath the will of the Father, while the cost was still real. That's the truth we often avoid. Discomfort doesn't automatically prove that the direction of Scripture is wrong. Sometimes discomfort simply reveals that truth has reached something we want to protect. So what do you do when you're beginning to see what Scripture says, but you don't feel ready for everything it might change? First ask, what has Scripture actually made clear? Not what you assume it says, not what another person insists it says. What can you honestly see when you examine the text carefully and compare it with the rest of Scripture? Second, ask, what remains genuinely unclear? There may still be questions that need patient study. Admitting that is not disobedience. Alignment is not reckless action. It's allowing Scripture, not fear, tradition, or preference, to determine what you believe. Then third, ask, what am I afraid this truth may change? That question matters because uncertainty and fear are not the same thing. You may understand what Scripture is saying and still be afraid of the consequences. Perhaps following it would mean admitting that a long-held belief was wrong. Maybe your family wouldn't understand. Perhaps it would create tension with people you love. Maybe it would affect a tradition, a community, or something that has made you feel secure. Perhaps you're afraid of looking extreme, or afraid that one change will lead to 10 more. Beneath all of that may be a question you don't want to say aloud. If I follow this, what will it cost me? That resistance is real. But there's another cost we rarely calculate. What happens when we continually pull away from what Scripture is showing us because following it feels uncomfortable. Over time, we may train ourselves to accept truth only when it leaves our current life undisturbed. We may continue reading Scripture while quietly reserving the right to reject whatever threatens our comfort. Then comfort, not Scripture, becomes the standard. You don't need to solve the entire road today. You don't need to anticipate every conversation, every consequence, or every future decision, but you do need to be honest about the place where you are standing. Take a piece of paper and complete these 2 sentences. What Scripture has made clear is, fill in the blank. My next faithful response is, fill in the blank. Where the meaning is still genuinely unclear, your next faithful response may be continued honest study. But where something has become clear, your next step may be admitting it, changing how you think, releasing a defense, or beginning one practical adjustment. Not the entire road, just one faithful response. You may not feel ready for everything the truth could change, but you can trust Yahweh enough to remain open, keep examining honestly, and respond to the part He has already made clear. If Scriptures begun changing what you thought you knew, begin the Set Apart journey at chrislrockwell.com/how. You'll receive the free book, Something Doesn't Add Up, and one Scripture-centered email each week to help you examine Scripture for yourself and take one faithful step at a time.